So in the last video, I showed you how I utilize different boxes and different modules to get different flavors of aggressive, distortion, and feedback. And because we went through each individual one, I kind of pushed them to the limits, and it was quite intense and noisy. So what I'm going to do this time on this video is start with a drum beat from the alpha bass, and then what I'm going to do is try and see if we can get something usable out of it rather than pushing it to its absolute limits. So this might be mixing different modules together or coming up with a signal chain, adding a little bit of grit at each stage, maybe even considering using some dry signal, so I can use like the right channel out of the alpha bass with some of the wet signal. We've also got options as well to have some dry hits coming from the Digitakt 2, so we might want to add some extra percussion out of this and then also drive that a little bit with some of the modules. We've got so many different options because we're pushing stuff through a patch bay, and if we wanted to, you know, I could send just the kick into that from the back here, and I could send a snare into this and so on, and there's just so many different ways I can do this. So yeah, the goal of this session is to come up with something usable. Now to speed things up, what I've done is I've just taken a drum pattern and a programming that I used for a previous track, and it sounds like this. So one big reason why I really like the Jomox is because it's got a really fat analog kick and it sounds great. Also recently I've been using this battering ram here, which is great as well. So I've got options for different kicks, but I really do like the alpha bass. And then I've just loaded this with a few kind of like 606 hits. So I've got a 606 snare, I think, on this one, and that could be a 606 hat as well. Actually, I don't think that is the 606 hat. So we've got two different hats there. That one, and they might very well just be like stock ones that are in the alpha bass already. So yeah, it's great drum machine. It's brilliant. It sounds great, just clean. It's great for like techno and stuff like that. But what I like to do is take it and smash it through bits of gear. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just running this in and out here so we can hear the clean version of it. What I might do is just start by trying different flavors of these to see what we can get. Maybe let's start with a plague bearer. So I'm just gonna plug that into there, and then I'm gonna turn this down a bit and hit play on the Ots track. And that'll kickstart everything else. So what I'm doing is just looking to see if there's anything that I want to use. Maybe not with that. Let's try the rabbit hole. Just turn it off a little bit. Kind of like that with no feedback on it, just to kind of warm the signal up. It's playing quite nicely with this drum pattern. Let's try and sweeten it a bit more. That sounds quite nice there. So what I can do is just take the, let's listen to the dry signal again. Yeah, it definitely kind of adds a bit of fluff to it. And what I might do then is take that and plug that in to the Gotharmans. So I'm getting a bit tangled here. So yeah, we'll put that into input 1. Then we'll take the mix out. Just turn everything down. Maybe not drive it as much with this, but add some feedback maybe. then again, if I don't drive it, then I don't get that kind of like feedback. See, I really like that. So what I'm going to do is split the signal. So let's just take the signal and put it into one of these mults to copy it. And then I'm going to send one back into that input. And then we've got an option now to kind of have a dry one as well. So the dry one, I could send that into mod output right. And if I do that, let's just do that. Let me try and find this signal. So it should be coming through on my Ableton. Oh no, because I've not patched it out yet. So what we could do is we've got an option here, right? I know you can't see my patch bay, but what I'm thinking is I'll take the mod output and I'm going to plug that in to the auto boom. So we'll bring that in on Motu 16 here. I'm going to take modular out and plug that into the boom. Just make sure we've got it turned down. So what we could do now is separately, just turn it off. Separately, what we could do is we can just use the auto boom in a sweetening way to kind of like create a dryish signal that is just really nice and crunchy. So I'm going to turn the mix level all the way up, bring the compressor and the drive down, and then let's just see what distortion setting we're on. Might want to put it on the first one so it's not as intense. So less is more with this, actually. So that's the wet, that's dry. Just add in a little bit there. And then what I'm going to do is just bring that level down. Then what I want to do now is have a look at this wet signal. What we could also do as well is, if I wanted to, I can also take, this is a trick I worked out recently, right? The auto boom, I've always used it in stereo, but what I found out recently when I set this up is actually I've got independent channels left and right. The auto boom, in essence, is two auto booms if you use the left and the right independently. So I've done this before where I've sent a drum kit, the drums into, say, the left channel on the patch bay, and then the auto boom right channel I've sent in the Pro 1 or Behringer K2 and used the other signal path, because each left and right channels is a copy of one another, so they both have their own drive circuit and compressor. So it's a little bit tricky because you have to kind of like make sure you have to adjust the gain input so you're getting a bit of compression as such on both sides. But it's a great little trick that is overlooked, really, that no one really does, I don't think. And I kind of figured it out by mistake. So if we take modular output right, which is, no, we don't want that one. How do we want that one? Let me just have a look. I get really confused with modular and all these cables. Right, so yeah, so this one, you can't see what I'm doing here, but I'm going to take the wet feedback signal and I'm going to put that into auto boom right. And then I've just noticed that I have labelled my patch bay run. I've got two in left puts for the auto boom. Right, so let's try that now. So that's the dry signal. What I can do is I can take the dry signal out just while I show you the wet signal. So wet signal, You can see it's coming through and it's been affected. Dry signal as well. And you'll notice the compressor is changing a little bit. So we've essentially got 2 auto booms if we use them in mono. Let's try changing this kit, see what it sounds like. So if I go... That's quite cool. Keep it on this one for now. Just try and sweeten it. Right, I feel like we're getting somewhere with that, so let's maybe look at adding some more interest into the signal. So this is the point where I go a little bit overboard, but let's have a play around. What I can do is I could take the modular input coming from the patch bay and plug that in to the plague bearer. In fact, I don't need to do that because we've got a dry signal here. So I could take that and plug that in to the plague bearer. Let's have a listen to this. And then what I can do is take the output signal, put that into 2. Set the dry signal out just so we can listen to this. Turn that one down. Trying to find something interesting, like a weird. That's quite cool. Bring this back up. That's cool, adding a bit more fizz on the top end. Notice that my Ableton is slamming on the master, so let me just bring some of these levels down a bit. That's cool. I like that, right? Let's get even more experimental. So I'm kind of happy with that, and I would at this point possibly record that. and use it. But what I'm going to do now is I am going to mess with it even more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out just so we can hear the wet signal only. Bring that back up. I'm going to take this wet signal, break that connection. I'm going to put it in to this Razor, which is a multi-mode filter. So I've got 2 lines of filtering. And you can get some quite weird stuff out of this. So I'm going to plug it into the input. It might not work, but we can give it a go. And also, I'm not using any modulation here. So the reason for that is just because it takes a bit more setting up using the Expert Sleepers FH2. I can use these modulation sources there. I could potentially just use that as a modulation source anyway, because you can see the stuff going on there. But I'm sending MIDI from the Digitakt on these channels. In fact, I have got some stuff going on this pattern, so I could potentially use that. Let's have a little play around with this. So I can add more drive using this as well. What I sometimes like to do with this is let's have a listen to the second one. Let's take some modulation from one of these, just see what happens. It's pretty cool. Go back. Weird, but I like it. Keep tweaking. Right, weird, but what I'm going to do is I am going to take this. Let's use another mult. Take one, plug it in there. Let's think about this, right? So this output, I don't know what I'm doing here. Right, okay, right, let me take, I don't know where I'm going with this, but let's see what happens. That's the beauty of modular, right? You can just piss about and something will eventually happen. It does get a little bit confusing sometimes, right? Let me have a little think. Where am I at with this, right? So that's the mix out. And that is going into there to get split. But then how do I bring this back? So we could go modular input right, and that's coming through Ableton on a different channel. Oh no, we can't because we're using that for the dry signal. Ah, god damn it, I'm getting really confused. Right, let's have a think. Right, the dry signals, because I'm unpatching everything as I'm doing it and it's messing me up. Right, let's have a look. I've got myself into an absolute pickle here. Let's see which ones are free. This yellow one, that is dry. Right, that's dry. This green one is the Gothman. I would like to use an extra channel to re-loop this back in, but I can't. Could send it into the Plague Bearer. That could be very interesting. So what I could do is send some into that. Output, send it into Plague Bearer left input. That'll create like a mad feedback loop. Oh, God knows what I'm doing here, but let's just try it. Let's turn it down a bit just in case. Take another output out of this. It doesn't sound very good, does it? So, where do we stick this? Let's try that. Yeah, it's not gonna work. Oh, input B. I've got an idea. We take Plague Bearer. I don't know what I'm doing. Right, we're there. Right, Plague Bearer. And this video has gone to absolute tosh because I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Right, let me reset everything. Right, so let's just take that back out. Right, let's put that back into here. Let's take the Plague Bear again, put that back in there because that sounded good. Right, mix out is going into there. Our dry signal, which we've somehow lost again, is this one. Right, we've got that back. I think what we could try and do is take input. So we have got nothing coming in there. Take these out. Let's just reclaim some wires back. So I've got myself into such a mess. Right. So that's the mix out from this. We could send that into something. Maybe. Possibly. So we'll have a play with that in a second. But first we need a signal. We could take an output of the Plague Bearer. Put it into the input. Maybe just have a quick listen to that. That's cool. Right, so now it's a case of where do we put this. Obviously, I haven't got the craziest modular setup. It's quite minimal. So we often run out of inputs quite quickly. So there is other ways I can do it though. I can just take this cable and I could actually just do that. I could just bang it straight into my patch bay. So let's try that. Let's go in on Motu 14, which is usually reserved for the Pro 1. Let's hit play. So that is coming through now. There we go. Well, if we take a different source. Oh, that's cool. That's taking an envelope from the Digitakt. Right, it sounds alright. Not sure if I would use this, but it was worth a little bit of an experimentation anyway. So what I can do is mute that channel. I really like what we've got going on with this though. Let's have a little play around with this. So Digitakt, where is that? Let's bring that in. Just enable to now bring in these down. Because now we've got that going, then we can start to layer it. With stuff in the Digitakt. Set that feedback out a bit. That's that laser from this. So I could like cut that in. Cool. I think we'll leave it there for now because we're coming on to half an hour, but you get the idea. It's how I would start one of these kind of like distorted electro tracks, and then once I've recorded it in as well, I can start layering it up and adding extra little synths and chopping stuff up. But it's about getting the source and the flavour from analog gear and then putting it into Ableton after and messing with it.